So TV in the 1980s. The 80s saw little innovation with the television specifically. However, there became a growing number of television accessories like the VCR and home game consoles like Nintendo. With the introduction of the VCR, people could watch movies in the comfort of their own homes and record and watch their favorite programs according to their own timetables. Although cable had been around since the 1950s, cable television saw a significant boom during the 80s. Sitcoms were more popular than ever. The 80s spawned programs like Roseanne, The Cosby Show, and Married with Children, which is the longest-running sitcom in television history. TV in the 1990s. The 90s saw big changes in technology altogether. The 1990s was seen as an age of technological change, due in large part to the Internet. The personal computer became affordable enough for average people to own. The Internet was available through dial-up ISPs, which is the acronym for Internet Service Provider, like Prodigy and AOL, and information was seemingly at our fingertips. Television programming became more risque, pushing the FCC's, which is the acronym for the Federal Communications Commission, buttons, and spawned some of the most loved shows of all time, including Friends, Seinfeld, Twin Peaks, and The Simpsons. Cable television programming saw a large boom at the end of the decade, with shows like The Sopranos and Sex and the City. Broadcasted on HBO, these series were exempted from standard FCC regulations and frequently depicted scenes with graphic violence, superfluous sex, and foul language. It turned out that the audiences and critics loved it. Various TV technologies like plasma and LCD were in the experimental stages. Standard CRT televisions still lead the market. However, televisions now included additional features like sleep timers and parental controls. Lastly, we have TV in the 2000s. DVD players take over the home theater experience. Much like the VCR, DVD players were introduced a decade earlier, but took some time to gain momentum. At the beginning of the decade, DVD players were in approximately 7% of homes. In less than 10 years, more than 80% of homes had a DVD player. In this decade, the slogan was "Thin is in." Advances in LCD and plasma technology enabled television manufacturers to produce a better picture, larger screen sizes, and save space. The home theater experience was in the forefront of manufacturers' minds, providing bigger and better quality to the consumer. Reality shows took over the airwaves and TV became interactive. With the introduction of American Idol, home viewing audiences became part of the competition. Encouraging the public to vote for their favorite performer, the programs enabled audiences to take an active part in the show's outcome. Did you know that a 30-second ad during American Idol cost about $750,000? Also, in this decade, television went all digital. In 2009, all analog televisions went black. Networks are now only producing a digital signal. Less than 10 years after the DVD player's introduction, the second wave of video players were introduced, touting better quality and longer runtimes. HD DVD and Blu-ray entered a battle for high-definition supremacy. TV also went online. With the introduction of high-speed internet, video streaming and digital recording entered the scene. Many were, and still are, posting their favorite programs and commercials online without the permission of the broadcasters. This has led to many networks making their programs available online. Moving on. The vacuum cleaner. This picture is illustrating the evolution of the vacuum cleaner from 1905 to 1997. John Thurman. John Thurman's door-to-door service. John Thurman started a horse-drawn vacuum system with door-to-door service in St. Louis, which is in the States. His vacuuming services were priced at $4 per visit in 1903. He invented his gasoline-powered vacuum cleaner in 1899, and some historians consider it the first motorized vacuum cleaner. Thurman's machine was patented on October 3, 1899. Hubert Cecil Booth. British engineer Hubert Cecil Booth patented a motorized vacuum cleaner on August 30, 1901. Booth's machine took the form of a large, horse-drawn, petrol-driven unit, which was parked outside the building to be cleaned with long hoses being fed through the windows. Booth first demonstrated his vacuuming device in a restaurant that same year and successfully sucked dirt. More American inventors introduced variations of the same cleaning by suction type contraptions. Of course, these early versions of vacuum cleaners were bulky, noisy, smelly, and unsuccessful. James Spangler. Handheld units. In 1907, James Spangler, a janitor in a Canton, Ohio department store, deduced that the carpet sweeper he was using was a source of his chronic coughing. Spangler tinkered with an old fan motor and attached it to a soap box stapled to a broom handle. Using a pillowcase as a dust collector, Spangler invented a new portable and electric vacuum cleaner. He then improved his basic model, the first to use both a cloth filter bag and cleaning attachments, and received a patent in 1908. Hoover vacuum cleaners. James Spangler soon formed the electric suction sweeper company. One of his first buyers was his cousin, whose husband, William Hoover, became the founder and president of the Hoover Company, a vacuum cleaner manufacturer. James Spangler sold his patent rights to and continues to design for William Hoover. William Hoover financed additional improvements to Spangler's vacuum cleaner. The Hoover design resembled a bagpipe attached to a cake box, but it worked. William Hoover's company produced the first commercial bag-on-a-stick upright vacuum cleaner. Initial sluggish sales were given a kick by Hoover's innovative 10-day free home trial, and eventually there was a Hoover vacuum cleaner in nearly every home. By 1919, Hoover cleaners were widely manufactured, complete with a beater bar, to establish a time-honored slogan, "It beats as it sweeps as it cleans." Airway sanitizer. Filter bags. The Airway Sanitizer Company, which began in Toledo, Ohio in 1920, introduced a new product, the filter fiber disposable bag, an important cleaning first. James Dyson. James Dyson invented the cyclone, the first bagless dual cyclone machine. Now moving on to the other topic, the childhood obesity epidemic. In 2004, 26% of Canadian children and youth aged 2 to 17 years were classified as overweight or obese using BMI for measured heights and weights. Between 1978 to 79 and 2004, the prevalence of overweight among Canadian children and youth increased from 12 to 18%, while the prevalence of obesity increased from 3 to 8%. Between 1978-79 and 2004, the combined prevalence of overweight and obesity remained unchanged at 21% for children aged 2 to 5 years, but doubled among children and youth aged 6 to 17 years. The most dramatic change across all age groups has been in the prevalence of obesity. Between 1978-79 and 2004, obesity rates tripled among 12 to 17-year-olds, and also likely rose in the younger age groups. A substantial proportion of Canadian children shifted from overweight BMI status to obese BMI status during this 25-year time period. It is noteworthy that 6% of children aged 2 to 5 years and 8% of those 6 to 11 years were classified as obese in 2004. The most pronounced increases were in the proportions of youth aged 12 to 17 years. So to recap all these statistics, there has been a dramatic increase in unhealthy weights in children. Obesity rates in children have almost tripled in the last 25 years. Approximately 26% of Canadian children ages 2 to 17 years old are currently overweight or obese. What's worse is that if this trend continues, in 20 years we can expect 70% of the 35 to 44-year-olds in Canada to be overweight or obese, versus 50% who are currently overweight or obese.